Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister and her boyfriend out and leaving them homeless? My male 28, sister female 22, and her boyfriend, or soon-to-be fiancé like everyone says, moved in with me 2 months ago after selling the last item they had to pay rent. Now, they have nothing except some useless old furniture and clothes. This may sound weird, but her boyfriend wears expensive watches and has the latest phone gadgets. Now, from what I understand, my sister says it's his mother's money, but his dad got fed up with him and kicked him out in 2019. I gave simple rules, like don't let the dog out, no seafood, I'm allergic to it, respect my neighbors, and do their part in chores. They agreed right away. I'm constantly busy with work, so I usually prepare meals at night to take with me the next day. My sister's boyfriend started eating my prepared meals at 1 in the morning while staying up all night. I discover it in the morning when I'm ready to go to work, and he eats almost the whole thing. It caused a huge problem for me, so I end up spending money on unhealthy fast food. I warned him several times about taking my prepared meals, but he complained that he doesn't cook and my sister won't cook for him. So I started leaving him with portions to eat. The problem was solved, but man, I was wrong. Thursday night, I prepared pizza, mozzarella, but didn't put some aside for him since he said he only likes tuna pizza. The next morning, I was getting ready to go to work and saw the plate where I stored the pizza was half eaten, and there were traces of tuna inside a box. I woke him up to see what the deal was. I decided to put tuna on my entire pizza before cutting it, but then fixed it and removed any tuna from the top and put the rest inside the box for me so I could eat it no problem. But there was tuna in there. I freaking lost my cool on him, and my sister jumped to his defense saying it wasn't such a big deal, and he forgot and fixed his mistake. So what? She was screaming in my face, giving me no chance to even explain why I was so mad. It's because I already stated I had seafood allergy, but he claimed I can't decide to ban tuna just because I don't like it. I yelled at him and said, disliking something is way different than being allergic to it, you moron. He took personal offense to being called moron and was started ranting about respect. I told him to pack and leave. No discussion, just go. I only wanted him out of my place, but my sister stubbornly said she goes too. I told her I don't give a damn, and she started crying, then they left. I haven't seen them, and I seriously think I messed up because I only took my sister in after my parents scared me about her ending up leaving homeless in her boyfriend's car. Since I spoke to them and told them they could either help or not be shocked when their daughter, my sister, lives in the car. I don't know why my parents haven't called, which is strange. I expected them to yell at me for contributing. Now for the top comments. Not today, Hull. You have very reasonable rules. You have very reasonable expectations. And for crying out loud, you have very good reason for avoiding seafood. Eating your roommate's food is rude as hell. But eating your gracious homelessness prevention landlord's food and covering it in something he's allergic to? Boy, bye. To reiterate, you are not why they are homeless. Their decision-making got them there, not you. Also, the boyfriend ranting about respect when he's the one who disrespects Obi. And it's something very disrespectful. Anyway, we all know why Obi is the one who take them in. Of course, he's the one who gonna take them in. Not today, Hull. It's no surprise his dad kicked him out. If your sister is homeless, it's by choice. She's the one trying to pull if he goes, I go too. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You didn't make them homeless. They did it to themselves. Not today, Hull. Tell your parents to take them in or help her, if they end up so worried about her living in a car. And if they won't, ask them why. She's their daughter. And this was not about pizza. This was about boyfriend's blatant disrespect of your rules, and more importantly, your allergies. Your sister decided to stick up for him, then take him to task for being disrespectful. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Not today, Hull. This isn't over pizza. It's about freaking boundaries. And no wonder his parents kicked him out. He can't even cook for himself and manage. You being allergic to seafood is a big deal, and don't back down. You didn't kick them out over pizza. You kicked them out because sister's boyfriend was stealing from you. They're entitled brats and need to learn how to take care of themselves. Not today, Hull. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my mom out? My mother and I never really got along. I'm definitely her least favorite kid. She never wanted a second child, but she doesn't believe in abortion, so she doesn't go above and beyond for me. My brother and I have an okay relationship, but he has a perfect life and a nice family. So I just kind of stay away because I'm jealous. A couple of months ago, I went hiking and a rock fell from the side of a hill and hit me in my face. I had a broken eye socket, a broken nose, and a broken arm. They reset my nose, but I was never able to breathe correctly, so I ended up having a surgery to fix it last week. I asked if my mother would be willing to drive me to the surgery center and stay with me for the surgery day because all my friends couldn't. It was going okay, until I finally got home and I just wanted to rest. She just kept lecturing me about little things. Then she started crying because my brother's dog died. I don't know why, maybe it was the painkillers, but I told her she's never cried or felt bad when something happens to me, and that I think it's better if she just went home. She told me I was ungrateful, and she was going to go where she was wanted. I guess she went to my brother's house because his wife messaged me about how mom came over so upset because I kicked her out, and how I really should apologize because she's just trying to help and don't let her help me. I feel bad because I think the painkillers made me overreact, because I already know she doesn't do things for me like she does for other people. But I also don't feel bad because even though I have to do everything by myself, I'm actually able to relax. My friends keep telling me not to worry about it and to focus on feeling better. Sadly, your friends are right. You just had a surgery following a severe accident, and she was needling you about how to live your life and crying over your brother's dog? That's awful. And she's a terrible mom. Any normal mom would just be loving and caring under those circumstances. Not Dayhall. Exactly. To add to this, Opie didn't kick her out. She said it would be better if she left. Even in this minor interaction, Opie's mom is relaying the story in a way that makes her the victim. Opie, I'm sorry your mom treats you like an interloper, but from what you wrote, you have friends that care about you. Stay strong and, if necessary, keep your mom at arm's length and let your sister-in-law know exactly why you have no need to apologize. Not Dayhall. 1, I hope you feel better soon. 2, she's being extremely insensitive. You just had a surgery done. If she wasn't willing to be very nice considering the fact you're probably worn down, at least don't give lectures and start crying. 3, you are in every right to kick her out. It is your house, and she was being insensitive and making a scene for no actual reason. 4, your sister-in-law can butt out. I bet mom told one heck of a sob story from her point of view. Not Dayhall. Message sister-in-law back and say, thanks for asking how I am post-surgery. I am in a lot of pain and alone, but lucky I have decent friends checking to see how I am. Sorry it didn't feel like a lecture from mother, and my family relationship is none of your business. I think my sister-in-law is very much like my mother. She's very judgmental and selfish. Saying anything to her about anything would be like saying it to my mother. And what is so wrong with that? Stand up for yourself. I don't really see a point. They don't really care about me, so I don't see the point in even saying anything. Every time I've said something in the past, I've gotten shut down. It's better to just keep my distance. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to take my sister in? Some background. I, late 20 female, and my father, late 50 male, do not have the best relationship. He left me and my mother when I was small, disappeared, moved abroad, and when he contacted me again, he already had a new wife several years later. He never really cared about me, always paid child support late or not at all, some abuse also involved. When I finished uni, he told me I didn't achieve anything, that is just a stupid degree, and that's basically how he treated me. Well, now a few years later, we are civil. Also, he and his new wife had a baby called Alex, 7 female. Well, now Alex means everything to him, and he's proud daddy and all. He is all the time posting photos with her on trips and birthday parties, which I admit I hate, and it makes me the a-hole because she's just a child. He also calls her his perfect girl, something I was never able to achieve or make him proud whatsoever. 2 years ago, his mother died, and since he is not in country, she left her flat in the capital to me. He was kind of pissed, but there was not much he could do about it. Now to the problem. He called me to wish me happy birthday, We are on wishing happy birthday and name day terms. That's basically all communication. And immediately after wishing me, he changed the topic to my sister. That's something I'm used to. But this time, he started to talk about how she would like to be a vet, and he has some friend who is a vet in my country, and when Alex is old enough to study, he would like her to come to my country and study here. Also, he would like her to go for practice to his friend. By chance, his friend lives near my old grandma's flat where I currently live. Here comes the problem. My father told me when my sister was old enough, he would like her to come live with me so I could take care of her when she studies. Or if I move out of the flat, he would like me to give her the flat since I won't longer use it, so she has place to stay, and it used to be his mother's. I refused and told him there was no way I am gonna take care of his bratty offspring in her 20s, and I'm not gonna give her the flat because I plan to rent it out, unless he wants to pay the rent in full because I wanted to use the money to pay mortgage for a house. He called me Nahal because I don't want to take care of my own family, and for not wanting to give her the flat and got for free. I ended the call and I haven't spoken with him since. So am I the a-hole for not wanting to take care of my sister? She actually hasn't done me any harm, but she's a spoiled brat because she's allowed everything by both of her parents, and I really don't want to deal with that. Also, I admit I am jealous because she has all of my father's attention I wanted when I was small, which makes me the a-hole because again, she is just a child and it is not her fault. Now for the comments. He called me an a-hole because I don't want to take care of my own family. Lol, he left you and your mother when you were young, but now you are an a-hole for not wanting to take care of his family? Not an a-hole. He's just looking to dump his child on someone else, and you were an easy target. Well done standing up for yourself. And you being jealous of your sister isn't an a-hole move at all. It's really understandable. She is being offered exactly what you wanted. It's completely normal to feel jealous of that. It's not your fault, but it isn't yours either. Thank you for saying that. I always feel weirdly left out when I see some photos of them, and I am jealous about her. And I cannot say I hate her, but I feel weird about her. Like she stole something from me. And it makes me feel terrible because I am an adult and I shouldn't feel like that about a child. Not a hole. It's your flat and you have no obligation to share it with anyone, family or not, and certainly not rent-free. You owe him nothing after what he did to you. Also, he's getting super far ahead of himself. He's planning way too far ahead based on something a 7-year-old has said she wants as a career. Tomorrow she may want to be an astronaut. The next day she may want to be a cat. It's crazy he's even bringing this up with you. Actually, even if she keeps wanting to be a vet, I believe his friend is gonna be retired by the time she's gonna go to uni. Not today, Hull. Your dad needs to remember that you're his daughter too. And the flat didn't end up yours because you're some stranger. You have too much misplaced anger targeted at this child. I understand your jealousy, but it doesn't sound like you actually even know this kid. Make sure you remember that and don't lash out at her directly as she grows up. I'm not saying you owe her anything, I'm just saying don't vilify her. It's not her fault, it's your father's. That is true. I don't know her at all and I don't feel anger towards her. Jealousy, yes, but I would never lash out on her or call her out for it. After all, she's just a child, and I feel really bad for having these feelings, but I can't help it. Under the surface, I know it's not her fault. It just hurts, and I don't want to have a relationship with her even if I'm an a-hole for it. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole? Father is homeless and I refuse to bail him out. Good evening, AITA Reddit. I am in the midst of a moral crisis, and I turn to you all for outside judgment. Some background. Growing up, my father was a night security guard and never made more than 10 an hour. He has had cars repossessed, didn't pay rent almost costing us our homes growing up, a chronic liar, and has stolen money from family, his brothers, myself, and my siblings. When my mother worked up the courage to leave him, he had an abusive streak. He fell apart. Since then, my father has for the last 10 or so years been what is essentially an employed homeless man. He bounces from job to job, never staying anywhere or any job for too long, maybe a year or so, before moving on to his next great idea. On more than a few occasions, this lifestyle of his had led to him winding up penniless and jobless, and in turn comes to his kids for money. I have in more than one occasion sent him money, bought bus tickets, or paid for him to fly from out of the country back to the US to start over. He at one point lived in my living room back in 2013. And this brings me to the current day. He called me the other day to tell me he was jobless and homeless in the US Virgin Islands and needs money. His brother, my uncle, had told me this call was coming because he gave him money a week or so before, and my sister did the same. So I told him no, I wouldn't give him any money, but I'd fly him back to the States. He just had to tell me where. He asked me to come to my home. Having done this before, I knew it meant I'd have to kick my dad out again, and simply told him that it was impossible. My wife is pregnant and my work schedule keeps me away. So I pay for him to fly to St. Louis, where we're originally from. This starts a fight with my wife and siblings who say he's taking advantage of me because he knows I won't say no to him. I told him this was the last time I'd help him, and any other requests of money and needing help would result in me cutting off all contact with him. I cannot shake that I am abandoning him, despite all the lies, his abuse, and proof that he won't change. He is my dad, and I'm consciously deciding to leave him to whatever outcome his decisions lead him to. So am I the a-hole? And if I'm not, why do I feel like one? You're the a-hole. Not for cutting him off, but for wasting money that should go to your wife and baby on this loser. He chose to have a kid. This does not put you in debt to him. Time to put your family first. As a last handout, flying dad back to mainland US is probably the best thing I hope you could have done. The job prospects will be better, especially with so many low-wage employers begging for workers right now, and the cost of living is lower. The key point is that OP needs to stand firm from here. The job market is crazy right now for typical low-wage workers. I saw a sign at Taco Bell in a small town with low cost of living, offering $14 per hour in paid vacation time. I've never heard of paid vacation fast food. Not today, Hull. This is a really tough situation. But you don't owe him anything. He is toxic and abusive. It would be a different story if he has actually changed as a person, but he hasn't. Kindly you're the a-hole to yourself, wife, and child. Your dad isn't going to change. The only thing that can change is how you respond to him. You can love him and not support him financially. His family have funded his adventures because he can't/won't hold down a job. Ask yourself, do you want your child to experience their granddad this way? Will your child become part of his family finance system? You aren't letting your dad down. He is letting you down. You're the a-hole. You and your family need to quit enabling this guy to keep living off you and your charity. He will never become responsible for his own actions because he knows that he can keep coming back to you guys all the time and you'll keep bailing him out. If I was married to you, I'd be angry that you keep paying to fly him back to the States too, time after time, because it's ridiculous you keep falling for his crap. The man is a loser, and he needs to hit rock bottom and dig himself out of his own hole for a change.
Am I the a-hole for getting a new nurse fired for accusing me of having an affair with my father? I am a hospital social worker at a small hospital. My dad is one of the ER day shift charge nurses. A few weeks ago, I was in the ER trying to figure out placement for an elderly patient. When I was leaving, I had a chat with my dad in the hallway. Before I left, he gave me a hug and told me not to be late for dinner. I joked about how I'm going to order the most expensive steak on the menu since it's his turn to pay. I am 27 female, my dad is 51 male. There was a new nurse at the nurse's station nearby. Pretty much everyone knows that he's my dad. I hadn't spoken with this new nurse much though, and she didn't know. Apparently, she thought my dad and I were having an affair based on what she heard and saw. She knew my dad's married to my mom, who brings him lunch sometimes. She immediately began gossiping to some of the other staff that my dad is having an affair with the hospital's social worker, aka me. One older nurse that I've known for a long time immediately came to tell me. I don't think she liked this new nurse very much. I guess no one decided to tell her that he's my dad. I hate gossipers. I don't know what it is about nurses, but I swear to God, some of them really love to spread rumors. I decided not to take it up with her and just went straight to HR. We were both asked to come to HR after our shift was over, along with my dad. Now the HR lady knew that he's my father. When the new nurse came in, she was asked to explain, and she said that she thinks it's terrible that we would so blatantly have an affair, and she was shocked because she thought my dad seemed like such a nice guy. My dad then decided to speak up and explain that I'm his child. The new nurse was mortified and apologized profusely. The HR lady asked me and my dad to leave. They had a meeting with the unit manager, and it was decided that the new nurse would be fired immediately because she was still in her 90-day probationary period. My mom thinks I'm a jerk and that I should have just brought it up to the nurse instead of bringing it to HR, when I knew she would probably get fired. I think my mom is also sympathetic because she stalked the woman's Facebook and saw she's a single mom or whatever. I think I was right to get her fired because the hospital doesn't need a bunch of nurses sitting on their butts gossiping instead of doing their jobs. My dad is embarrassed and feels awkward about the whole thing. It's not the first time someone has thought I was dating my dad. We aren't weird or anything, but it happens. Anywho, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If you would have handled it privately, she would have just moved on to the next round of gossiping about co-workers. Now she might learn to keep her opinions to herself. Yeah, how hard is it to say they seem friendly? Or ask, how do they know each other? Instead of, oh my god, an affair. Right? Like could have just asked, oh, who's that? She jumped headfirst into the most nefarious scenario to create drama. Not the a-hole. I doubt this was the only reason she was fired. The real hint on this is the other nurses not telling her and letting her tie her own noose. I agree that's very telling. If almost everyone knows OP and her dad are related, and none of them decided to tell new nurse when she was gossiping, she already had pissed other employees off for them to not tell her. If she's gossiping openly about her co-workers, what is she saying about her patients? What private info is she releasing? You were right in going to HR. You didn't get her fired. She got herself fired because they realized that she was untrustworthy and a possible lawsuit if she released private info. Not the a-hole. Exactly. As healthcare professionals, we have a responsibility to maintain patient confidentiality and uphold a professional work environment. Her behavior was completely unacceptable, and I'm glad HR took swift action. It's not about being harsh or mean, it's about ensuring our hospital provides a safe and respectful space for patients and staff. Next story. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my co-worker by outing her as the one who keeps stealing my tea? So, I, 28 female, work in a pretty chill office. We've got a shared kitchen area with a take one, leave one vibe for snacks and drinks. People leave extra granola bars, packets of oatmeal, all that. Cool, but the unspoken rule is, if it's labeled, leave it alone. Anyway, I'm kind of a tea snob, and I bring my own imported stuff from this place my grandma used to order from the UK. I keep a little box of it in the kitchen cabinet with a big label on it that says, "My name's Tea, please do not take," smiley face. Except, someone's been taking it, not just 1 or 2 bags. Half the box disappeared in a week. So, I did what any mildly unhinged office girly would do. I slipped a few decoy bags into the box and soaked the tags in fish sauce overnight. Dried them, resealed the wrappers, waited. 2 days later, one of my co-workers, we'll call her Tina 31 female, comes storming out of the kitchen, gagging and asking if someone tampered with the tea. I stayed quiet until she said, "I don't know who buys that weird brand, but it tastes like a literal fish tank." And I said, "Oh, that's mine, the one with my name on it?" She went pale, dead silent, and then mumbled something about not seeing the label. Now she's mad, telling everyone I set her up and that it was a malicious prank, when all I did was booby-trap my own tea. HR hasn't said anything yet, but some people think I crossed the line. I didn't put anything dangerous in it, I just made it gross. And honestly, if you're gonna steal tea from a labeled box, you deserve the fishy consequences. So, am I the a-hole for basically tricking her into exposing herself? Not the a-hole. That's hilarious. And save allergies? Not dangerous. If she was concerned about allergies, she wouldn't be stealing tea anyway. This massage therapist that rented a room in the doctor's office that I used to work in would take my stuff sometimes. I didn't mind for the most part because she was an old family friend and I knew her. The only thing was, she would get upset if I even touched her stuff. Whatever. One day, she took my bottled iced mango green tea and drank it on a day that I wasn't there. She's allergic to mango and was telling me how she had a slight reaction. It's a branded store-bought bottle that was clearly labeled to have mango. It was a selling point. It's why I bought that tea. I responded with, well, it's nice to know it has actual mango in there. And as a person with allergies, I would never do anything like that. I was kind of shocked that she did do that. After that, she didn't take my personal items as much. Not the a-hole. I hate entitled people who steal food. I solved this problem by never using shared areas, because if you can contaminate your own food, other people can cough, touch, or steal your food. Too many years working with gross people, I just can't do it anymore. Why isn't the next step asking HR the following? If they steal food from coworkers, what else will they steal from the company? Thieves get coddled. My grandpa resigned his post as treasurer at the Elks Lodge because he successfully did a sting on one of the bartenders. She was taking hundreds of dollars. But the lodge didn't want to raise a fuss. He said, the books don't square unless you prosecute. They did the non-committal shrug response, so he resigned. He'd been there 20 years, had his head on the wall of heroes, and they chose a thief bartender over him. Their loss, he joined the Legion and had a lot more fun, even if their kitchen was tiny. His drinking picked up, which wasn't great, but it was close to the house, so I'd pick him up. We held the 50th wedding anniversary and his wake there. The Elks Lodge had a full commercial kitchen, and he helped out there a lot too. His picture on the wall of heroes was earned through hard work and community building, and none of it mattered. Don't rock the boat is some messed up, repugnant nonsense. Next story. Am I the a-hole for humiliating my husband's lifelong friend after she insulted my parenting style in my own home? I, 29 female, have been married to Leo, 31 male, for 5 years, and we have a 5-year-old daughter and a 10-month-old son. Leo's childhood friend, Sarah, has always been part of his life. I've tried to be polite with her, even though she has a habit of making snarky comments about me whenever she gets the chance. Since Leo is a pretty reserved person and doesn't have many close friends, I just let it slide for years. A couple of nights ago, we hosted a dinner party with some old friends, and Sarah came along. There was a fair bit of wine, and Sarah got tipsy enough to run her mouth. She started going on about how Leo had always told everyone he'd stay single until 35, and how wild it was that he'd married someone like me so soon. It made the whole table awkward. Leo tried to calm me down and asked me to brush it off because she was drunk. But it didn't stop there. Later that night, our daughter was playing on her tablet. She has mild sensory processing issues, and sometimes screen time helps her calm down. Sarah saw it and loudly said, "Wow, I can't believe you just throw a screen in front of your kid like that." If I had a child, I'd never let them rot their brain with that garbage. That was my breaking point. I told her to shut her mouth and mind her own business. I reminded her that this was my house, my family, and my child, and she was in no position to judge anyone's parenting, while she couldn't even manage to hold down a relationship or live with someone other than her cats. She burst into tears and left shortly after, and most of the guests followed. Since then, Leo has told me he gets why I was upset, but thinks I was way too harsh, especially given Sarah has had depression since her ex-fiancé cheated on her a couple of years ago. Her friends have been texting me, telling me I'm a monster and demanding I apologize. I blocked them. I don't really feel bad. Sarah has made countless passive-aggressive digs for years, and this was just the final straw. When I told Leo about all her other subtle insults that he never noticed, he was stunned. He ended up blocking her too, and now some of their old friend group is torn apart. Still, a little voice in my head wonders if I went too far by throwing her personal life back in her face. Sarah is clearly struggling, but she kept poking at me and my parenting. Am I the a-hole for finally snapping and telling her off? Not the a-hole, and have a block party. Block and delete anyone who says you should apologize. They are not your friends. She's jealous he didn't pick her. Not the a-hole. Protect your babies and open his eyes to what she's been doing. Thank you. I'm already on block and delete mode. No regrets. Anyone defending her doesn't care about my family's well-being. I'm done keeping quiet. And you're right. My kids and my marriage come first. A couple of years ago, she doesn't get a free pass to be an a-hole whenever she wants because someone got sick of her 2 years ago. Not the a-hole. The fact that she's doubled down makes it even worse. If she can't stop running her mouth when she drinks, that's on her. Right? 2 years is plenty of time to work on healing, not to use it as a pass to treat people like crap. I'm done excusing her behavior. If she can't handle her own words, maybe she should rethink drinking so much. Thanks for backing me up. Not the a-hole. Leo is partially at fault for allowing it to get to this point, but it also sounds like you weren't communicating everything that was happening with Sarah in real time. I understand you didn't want to interfere in his friendships, but that's only valid as long as they are not trying to interfere in your marriage, which is something she's been trying to do all along from the sound of it. More communication all the way along would have been damage control. You said Leo doesn't have many close friends aside from Sarah, so I'm not sure about the significance of the rest of their friend group being torn. Hopefully this clarifies for Leo who his true friends are. He can stop investing in the rest of them. Generally in adulthood, if you have just a few solid ride-or-die friendships, you're doing all right. Totally fair. I see now that I should have spoken up way earlier instead of trying to keep the peace. It probably would have saved a lot of drama. You're right that real friends don't act like Sarah, and hopefully this helps Leo see who's actually worth keeping around. Thanks for laying it out so clearly. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my flatmate use my balcony? I, female, moved to another city to go to uni and rented out a room in my flat since it had been empty. The girl who moved in is a friend of my ex, but she's very sweet toward me and we always got along well. My ex and I don't speak anymore, but I thought we could all be grown-ups and respect each other. Also, at first, she didn't seem too involved in the whole situation and had always been pretty neutral. I furnished the whole flat myself, and we set up a contract stating explicitly which rooms are common areas and what she can use. This includes the kitchen, bathroom, corridor, and her room. Of course, she can use everything freely such as dishes, dishwasher, washing machine, etc. My room is bigger and has a balcony, not listed as a common area, since it's only accessible through my room, which I have always been transparent about. She still agreed to the conditions and price, and had initially been fine with everything. When she moved in, the balcony didn't have any furniture yet, but a month ago I had finally saved up enough money to create a cozy space there. We always got along well and sometimes hung out together in my room. I saw that she had noticed the furniture on the balcony. I had gotten a grill, some chairs, and a table. The problem started after a while, when she asked if my ex could throw a party in my flat while I was traveling. I immediately told her no, and she was very understanding. But after that, I had a bad feeling and started locking my door every time I left the flat for a few days. A few days ago, I stayed in my hometown and got a text at almost 1 in the morning, asking why my room was locked and saying that she wanted to have her dinner on the balcony earlier but couldn't access it. She texted me this all casually, as if it was totally obvious for her to go into my room. I told her that the balcony and my room are my private space and I didn't want anyone there. She got a bit mad and said that it was only fair for her to access the balcony since she has been paying the same rent price as me. She said that means she should be able to access the balcony. Now she wants me to keep my door unlocked so she can use the balcony. Quote, especially since I will be traveling during the summer and no one would use it otherwise. Here's my opinion. I rented out one room in my flat and we set a contract where I explicitly stated which rooms were available for everyone. She agreed to the conditions and the price. If she had thought it was an unfair price, she could have said no. Now, after a few months, she feels entitled to access other rooms. I told her no, and she got mad, even after I offered for us to use the balcony together while I was home. I offered that we have a barbecue together or just have breakfast on the balcony. Nope, she wants to have access to it while I'm out of town, which means I would have to keep my room unlocked. I think it's a complete invasion of privacy, and I don't want to give up my privacy for someone else's comfort. I also don't want her there because she treats my things with zero respect and already broke a few smaller things without replacing them. But still, I feel kind of petty and mean. Since I've always been a people pleaser and she's always been super kind to me, respected all the rules, etc. I don't want bad blood between us. Am I the a-hole for telling her no? Not the a-hole. She knew that she was only renting one room, but I am certain she has your ex over while you're not there. I'm also certain she's having other people over and portraying that entire space as hers. In order to keep your peace and your sanity, I would consider seeing if it's a month-to-month lease and telling her that you're not renewing. She needs to go. Get her attitude as soon as you can and find someone else to rent that room with no ties to your ex. Most people understand boundaries. Totally agree. If she's already crossing boundaries now, it's only going to get worse. Best to find someone with no drama attached. I would say the following. The agreed-upon contract includes your bedroom, the corridor to your bedroom, access to the second bathroom, and access and use of the kitchen and living room area. The agreement does not, and never has, included my private bedroom space or access to the balcony, which can only be reached via my private bedroom. If you no longer find the lease terms to be agreeable, you can submit your 30 days notice to move out without any financial penalty. Accessing spaces that are not included in our agreement will result in the termination of said agreement, and you will be given a 30-day notice to vacate the premises. Don't even play with this stupid nonsense. You agreed to rent the room, not your private bedroom and balcony. She knows what she agreed to, and you need to hold firm to that, not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that their transportation wasn't my problem after they gave my car to my brother? Okay, that title is a little clickbaity. It was their car that I have maintained and paid the registration and insurance on for years. They have every right to give it away. My mom doesn't drive, and my dad had his license taken away after a DUI. I live a couple of blocks away from them and work from home. I don't really need a car except for getting groceries and running my folks around. My dad's car was a Jeep Grand Cherokee that was only 3 years old when he lost his license. It was fully paid off, so I just took over paying for insurance and registration. It was nice to have a car for errands and for running errands for my folks. And it was a much nicer car than I would have gotten for myself. My brother was over a couple of months ago, and he was pissier than usual about me getting a free car. He was hollering about how I'm the golden child and my parents give me everything. So my dad told me to give the car back so he could give it to my brother, since it would be fair because I got to use it for free for 4 years. Like I said, it's not my car, and I really don't need one. My brother lives across town, a good 45 minutes away. I live 5 minutes away. My mom called me on Friday a couple of weeks ago to remind me that she had a hearing aid appointment. I reminded her that I no longer had a car. She ended up taking a cab because my brother was at work. My dad called me to ask me to come over and talk. So I walked my dog Bruno over to see them. My dad said that I had 4 years to save up to buy my own car and wanted to know when I was going to buy one. I told him I don't need a car. I'm happy getting Walmart to deliver my groceries because I'm not like my mom and insist on inspecting every stalk of celery before it goes in my cart. Both of us live on a good bus route that takes us downtown if we need to go to the doctor or anything like that. I said I wasn't planning on buying a car. He said he hoped that I'm not expecting him to buy me a car, just to run errands for them. I said, I do not need a car. I work from home. My clients see me in my home. My salon is on the main floor of my house, and I have a nice basement suite for me and Bruno. I order supplies that get delivered. I order groceries that get delivered. I order stuff from Amazon that gets delivered. I don't need a car or the expense of a car. I told him to get my brother to run them around since he has a car now. My dad had the decency to look embarrassed. He said that my brother took our mom for groceries once and acted like it was a huge imposition and made her cry. So they didn't want to ask him for favors. I pointed out that they could just ask for the car back, but that was also a non-starter. I said that I would not be getting a car, but if he wants, I will split the cost of a car share membership. That way, I can take a bus to the nearest car and use it for a few hours when they need a ride. He agreed, but he thinks I should pay the whole thing. I reiterated that I do not need a car, and that if he keeps it up, I won't even split the cost with him. He thinks I'm being ungrateful and childish because I had an almost new car for free for 4 years. I just roll my eyes now. Edit. I changed a word because my father didn't use it. He just implied it. Also, I stopped paying the insurance on the car, which is still registered to my dad. The registration is paid for the year already. Also, I did use the car for personal stuff sometimes, getting together with girlfriends and going on dates. I don't like men knowing where I live before I get to know them. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You running them around and doing errands was payment for the use of the car. The fact your dad idiotically gave the car to your brother without thinking the repercussions is on him and only him. Your dad should be reminded that the only reason there was a free car available to you was because of his poor choices to drink and drive to begin with. He lost his license 4 years ago, and its return doesn't seem imminent. What did he do? Run over the Pope or something? I've never heard of a drunk losing it for that long. I will split the cost of a car share membership. No, why? This will obligate you to run errands for them again, but this time it'll be more hassle because you'd have to bus to and from the rental place, then drive to them. Your parents don't want to bother your brother who has the car and can help them out much more efficiently, but won't help them. Instead, they'd rather you jump through hoops because you're more, I don't want to say compliant, but yeah, you're more of a doormat than your jerk brother. Heck, your dad thinks you need to cover the whole rental account. That's how much he thinks you owe him, versus your brother who doesn't have to lift a finger. Look, tell your dad he gave the car to bro. Bro can run his errands for him. You shouldn't have to come out of pocket just to be able to drive them around. If bro doesn't want to do it, then they get the car back to you. Dad pays for its insurance and maintenance, and you drive them around when you have time. I kind of like shopping with my mom. It's our time, and a moment of zen watching her grope fruits and vegetables in a slightly obscene way to pick just the right ones. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to move in with my mom so she can stay in her house until she dies? Long story short, my stepdad has ALS and doesn't have long to live, and he and my mom are relatively young. They live in a double-wide modular home on 15 acres of land. My husband and I are wannabe farmers with not much land. We have sheep, goats, pigs, bunnies, and about every kind of bird. My husband and I own our own house, and it will be paid off in 5 years. We have poured our blood, sweat, and tears into everything we have, and my husband has pounded every nail into this house and our barn. The house is beautiful on the inside and was freshly remodeled a few years ago. I'm very proud of our home. It needs some TLC on the outside, however. The other night, my stepdad said, "Would you guys consider renting out your house and moving in with your mom after I pass away so she can stay in this house? This house is too much for her to take care of and maintain on her own. Since you guys will be renting out your house, you can go back." My husband flat out refuses to rent our house out, as he flips houses for a living and knows firsthand how tenants destroy things. He doesn't want all of his hard work to get trashed like that. And dealing with tenants is not something we want to be burdened with. That would leave us with 2 properties to maintain. The stipulation with us moving in with my mom would be that I wouldn't be able to keep my dog. We would have to pay the taxes, $8,000 a year, put a new roof on it, put new siding on it, and manage the property. Right now, the house is worth $290,600. What makes it worse is that the house isn't in my mom's name. My stepsister and stepbrother are willed the house, and my stepsister's name is on the deed. So if we were to go live with my mom the minute she dies, we are screwed, and we don't want to have a trashed and destroyed house to return to. We also don't want to sell our house and have to start over. We would essentially be raising the value of my parents' house and walking away with nothing, while my step-siblings reap the benefit of it. So we told my stepdad we are willing to do it only if we can buy the house, and we will pay full market value. The house's appraisal is $290,600. My stepdad said, "You won't be able to afford this house." We said, "Yes, we can." He said, "No, you can't. I want $500,000 for it." So I told him no deal, and now he won't talk to us. Am I the a-hole? So you pay and upgrade and your mom lives in it, then his kids benefit? Nope. Tell him you weren't born yesterday. And she has to get rid of her dog too. Don't forget that. OP, they act like they're the ones doing you some sort of favor, but you don't need or want this. Just stay out of it. It is up to your mom and stepdad to sort this out. I wonder if some people confuse a prefab house that comes in two halves. Unless you spot the seam outside, you would never suspect it wasn't built on site. I used to see halves driving down the Long Island Expressway. This is exactly the type of house it is. Not the a-hole. Your mother's husband is okay with you losing everything when your mother dies? What a loving man. You might want to tell them they need to sell and downsize before he dies, to make sure his wife is in a situation she can manage once he is gone. Why is nobody asking mom what she wants? Seems pretty ignorant to leave her out of decisions for her future as if she's a damn child. Not the a-hole for telling stepdad to pound sand on his BS offer, but you and your stepdad both suck for how you're treating your mom. Do better. I've talked to my mom about this in length, and she is very set in staying where she is, though my husband and I offered for her to move in with us or buy a house with her together if she wanted. Taking care of her isn't the issue. Losing everything we have for my step-siblings' gain is. Of course you are doing the right thing. Your stepdad is setting you up for long-term failure at the hands of his own children. Trying to gouge you on the current value of his place is a perfect example. Do not allow yourself to be guilt-tripped. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that his sister can't live with us? So this is what's happening. We live in a small 2-bedroom apartment. It's me, my husband, and our toddler. The second bedroom? That's the baby's. There's no guest room. There's no spare mattress. Heck, the couch barely fits in our living room without it feeling like an obstacle course. Then suddenly his sister calls. Says she needs a place to stay for a while. No details. Just boom, she's on her way. She's not asking, she's telling us. Apparently, she got into it with her roommate and can't deal with the drama. Her words. I told my husband straight up no. Not because I don't care. Not because I want her homeless. But we literally don't have the space. Our kid wakes up if someone breathes too loudly near his room. I'm already running on fumes from the night feedings and the 4 a.m. cries. The last thing I need is another adult here adding to the chaos. But get this. My husband says I'm being cold. That she's family. That it's just temporary. I asked how long is temporary. He shrugs. Says a few weeks, maybe a couple of months. No plan. No end date. Just vibes and guilt. I tried to be clear. I said, if she moves in, I move out. I didn't mean it as a threat. I just meant I literally won't be able to function in this house if she's here full time. I'm already stretched thin. This would break me. He looked at me like I'd just kicked his puppy. Said I was forcing him to choose. I said, no, she is. Because who invites themselves to someone else's house without even checking first? Now things are tense. He's barely talking to me. She keeps texting him saying, don't worry, I'll figure it out. But that's just the guilt bait. And honestly, I feel like the bad guy. Like I'm this evil wife keeping his poor sister out on the streets or something. But also, I'm tired of always being the one who bends, who makes room, who shuts up to keep the peace. So yeah, that's the whole messy thing. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. She hasn't been evicted. Unless she is in actual danger, then she doesn't need the help she is asking for. That kind of help is for emergencies, not for not being able to handle the drama, not the a-hole. Yeah, she said she can't deal with her roommate drama. That is not an eviction. She has a place to live, she just doesn't want to. Husband is prioritizing his sister's childishness over his own child and his wife's sanity. Husband is the bad guy, not OP. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Text her and tell her you'll give her more drama than she's getting from the roommate. I just set a boundary. What she does with it is up to her. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying my mom's husband isn't my dad and saying I never got to meet my dad? My dad died when my mom was pregnant with me, 17 female. She told me about him growing up, and we have little traditions we keep to honor him. She also gave me the name he wanted for a daughter. I always spent time with my dad's family in the summer, and they'd travel to see me or we'd travel to see them when we could. So even though I never got to meet him, I still consider him my dad, you know? When I was 13, she introduced me to James, and they got married when I was 14. To me, James is my mom's husband, but I guess he sees me as his daughter, and he's been hurt for years that I call him James, that I never gave him a dad-like nickname or title. I didn't know about it until we went on vacation last month. My mom and James met this couple, and we had dinner with their family. I was talking to their 2 kids, who were pretty close in age to me, and they asked why I called him James, and wasn't he my dad? I said he's not my dad, he's married to my mom. They asked what happened to my dad, and I told them I never got to meet my dad because he died while my mom was pregnant with me. We talked about other things. But when we got back to the resort, my mom pulled me into my room and asked me why I'd said that stuff at dinner. I had to ask her what she meant because I had no idea what was going on. She said James' face when I said he wasn't my dad, and when I told those kids I never got to meet my dad was heartbreaking. She told me he's been waiting for me to acknowledge him as the dad in my life, and I never do. I told her he's not though. She said I might have been 13 when I met him, but it shouldn't stop me from letting him be the dad who gets to be here for everything. She said as much as she misses dad, she didn't ever want me to deny myself the chance to have one. And I told her I wasn't denying myself anything. Mom got frustrated and left. Then, after we got back from vacation, Mom and James pulled me into a meeting, and James told me how much he'd love to be more to me than James, and how hurtful it was to be rejected as dad, even to strangers who could have easily been led to believe that he was my dad. They said I don't need to always say he's not, or that my dad died. I told him I was sorry that my words hurt his feelings, and my mom said that wasn't a good apology and that it didn't sound like I was sorry I said those things. I said no, because James isn't my dad, and I never got to meet dad. Ever since that afternoon, Mom's talked to me about it 5 different times, and James mopes whenever I'm around. Mom said it really is hurtful to him. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. At the end of the day, he is not your father. Period. You met him when you were 13, old enough to know that he's not your father, and he didn't really play a fatherly role in your life. He married your mom. He had no part in you. That's a stepdad. You are allowed to feel the way you feel. As adults, your mom is failing you. This, if he had gotten with a mom when OP was 1 to 3 years old, I could see why he would be hurt, because at that point, he would have been raising her for over 15 years and a much more significant impact on her life. But he has only been around a few years. Not calling him dad is incredibly valid. For 13 years, you and your mom both celebrated your father as your father. You've only known James for 4 years. Just because he's present doesn't automatically make him your dad. He may care for you like a dad, but if you don't feel that he's your dad, there's no amount of pushing and guilt that's going to make you change your feelings. On the contrary, all they're doing is pushing you away from both of them. You are going to start, if you haven't already, resenting James's insistence. Your mother also needs to realize that resentment is going to spread to her as well. Unfortunately, I see this as a long-term battle for you. If you get married, there's going to be insistence that James be father of the bride. If you have children, there's going to be insistence that James be grandpa. You might want to remind your mother that you have less than a year before you are 18. Does she want to put a wall up for the future? Not the a-hole. That's going to be so awkward if they think James is going to walk me down the aisle if I ever get married. He's not even a consideration for people I'd maybe ask if I even walked with someone else.